What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a good... What is today? Lost track. Saturday evening. Saturday night. Especially if you're over in Eastern time like I am. It is definitely Saturday night. Was hoping maybe we could get a different crowd tonight than we usually get during the week. Maybe even same people with some more. That'd be cool. Anyway, this probably won't be, I say this every stream, I'm not even going to say it again, but I just had a couple things to share with everybody, and I've got a little bit of a new perspective, a little bit of a change up in kind of how I'm feeling recently about the Doge price movement. And the reason I'm saying that is because now we have some new information that actually makes things quite interesting. First, let me go ahead and blast out another message just to make sure that those that were waiting know that we are live. So hang on just one moment. And let's get a message out on Twitter real quick for those that are following me there. Caps lock. How's it going, Rick? Hope you're doing good. Thanks for coming and supporting the stream. I do appreciate that. And I did pin you because you are first, like I love to do. So anyway, hope everybody's having a good night so far. And let's go ahead and get into it. So, as you can see by the title, Dogecoin, a major pump could be coming soon. Robinhood CEO gets involved. So this is actually one of the main reasons why I think that we could be seeing Dogecoin go up pretty significantly here. And it's because not only do we have Elon Musk's recent involvement in trying to buy out Twitter, and then we know what would happen with that, with the whole tipping arrangement, and I can touch on that a little bit later, but I won't start with that since we talked about it in the last stream. But recently, Vlad, so he's the CEO of Robinhood, got involved completely unprovoked in a Dogecoin related discussion, and he went into depth about how Dogecoin could potentially take over and become kind of the currency of the world. And I thought that was really interesting. So let's go ahead and pull up Twitter here. Hopefully you guys are able to see my screen sufficiently. Maybe we're on 150 zoom, so that should be good. But here you can see we're on Vlad's Twitter account here, and the tweet, the first post here, the first tweet in this thread, it reads, "Can hashtag Doge truly be the future currency of the internet and the people?" So this is completely unprovoked. What's going on, Natobi? What's going on, Rafi? Let me read those comments in just a second. And then it says, "As we added the ability to send and receive Doge on Robinhood, I've been thinking about what that would take." Now, before we even get to the explanation of what Vlad thinks that it would take for Dogecoin to be truly the future currency of the internet and the people, let's kind of dig into this statement and consider the fact that, like I said, it was completely unprovoked. No one asked him any questions about this, or at least not that we can see here, because he didn't reply to a thread. This just was he clicked new tweet and expressed his thoughts here. A few things. Vlad talking about the possibility of Dogecoin being the future currency of the internet and the people. And this is really the whole angle that Dogecoin has, that people that are looking for quick pumps, people that are always looking into the newest altcoins, the newest NFT craze, and all of this, they tend to overlook what Dogecoin's utility is and what its potential is, and really what its purpose is. It is not to be a smart network. It is not to be an NFT platform, or its catalysts are different. The purpose of Dogecoin being successful, is Dogecoin becoming the currency of the people and being accepted by everyone, just like you could go and spend dollars, cash, or you could go and swipe your Visa or MasterCard. Once we hit that level of adoption and acceptance, and everyone can value Dogecoin for being worth a certain amount of something, Dogecoin has succeeded. All right, so he's touching on that angle. Can Doge truly be the future currency of the people? Well, the next thing that's really interesting is that he says, as we've added the ability now to send and receive Doge on Robinhood, I've been thinking about that more. basically is what he said here. This touches into why I've been saying that I really believe that Dogecoin, that Robinhood enabling wallets and integrating wallets and the ability to send Dogecoin to other people for payment and to receive Dogecoin as potentially as payment was such a big catalyst, because the majority of Dogecoin holdings, if you look at all the different crypto exchanges and you look at the amount of Dogecoin held on each exchange, so the users and how much Dogecoin that they have on each exchange, Robinhood currently has the most users with the most amount of Dogecoin. It's all on Robinhood. And I think last time I checked, the number was like 60%. That could have changed by now. It could be 50. It could be a little less. The whole point, though, is that Robinhood holds the majority of Dogecoin. A lot of Dogecoin whales, like the Dogecoin millionaire, they are using Robinhood, so on and so forth. So it looks like Vlad has also been thinking the same thing that I was thinking, which is now that you can send and receive all that Dogecoin, now it kind of becomes possible to consider Doge becoming a future currency of the people, because now we're unlocking all this, and this will help Dogecoin reach that potential. I think really before Robinhood added the ability to send and receive Dogecoin, it was almost off the table, because you think about 60% of current Dogecoin holdings being locked, and all of or most of those people not wanting to execute a sell because they don't want to have to deal with capital gains tax. So what they're probably going to do is just hold it for as long as they can and only sell it if a crazy opportunity presented itself. Let's say Dogecoin hits $1 and they've 20x their portfolio. Then maybe they would take the hit. But other than that, the only way that they're probably going to interact with this Dogecoin that they're holding is if they were given the ability to send it, which would just be considered a payment. You don't have to pay capital gains tax on paying for an item, just like with cash. So looks like he's thinking the same thing I was thinking here. Dogecoin wallet, Robinhood wallets, allowing people to use all this Dogecoin equals potential for Doge to be future currency of the people. Or it unlocks it. And so now we can start to analyze the rest. And what does Vlad think that it would take for this to actually happen now that we've unlocked step one? And now I'll read those tweets really quick. Toby Entertainment says, I shared your channel and Twitter with my cousin and he loved it. Thank you. Appreciate that, man. Unlike 99% of the channels, this is very unbiased when it comes to crypto. Thank you so much, Toby. I really appreciate that. And I know, especially in the current YouTube world, being unbiased is really unpopular, and I think a lot of times it's not even really enjoyed or appreciated. But I just know, for me personally, when I look to do my research on certain cryptocurrencies and I want to find info, I want people that are talking about the facts as it is without personal bias determining what they're going to say, because when someone has a bias towards something, the information kind of becomes illegitimate because their opinion is just always going to be leaning to one direction. It may not be the facts. So really, I just try and spit the facts. Anything I see, I'm going to say it. If I don't see the angle, I'm going to say I don't see it. And it doesn't matter how much I actually love the project or don't like it. I just like SHIB. At one point I was saying, guys, probably should buy some Shiba Inu even though I hate the project because it's gone to 5x. And then I was saying, guys, probably should not buy Dogecoin because we're at a top here. It's probably going to go down significantly. Maybe just look to buy the dip. That's just that's how we do it here. And I appreciate you sharing that with other people. It means a lot. Rafi says, hey, what's going on? I appreciate the fact about the good, bad, and ugly because it's our money. Exactly. If I keep telling you guys to buy Doge, buy Doge, Dogecoin hits 30, it's at the very top, and I know it, and I'm just like, but I'm just bullish on Doge, buy it, and then you lose half your money, I'm not going to feel so good, unlike some other people that are just, fanatics and just always in one mode. So, yeah. My goal is for everybody to be successful in trading, which is buying and selling. It could be going long or going short. But I love to talk about, obviously, the projects that I actually have interest in. He says, can you also share some info on Bitcoin and ETH after the Doge info? Absolutely. Yeah, we'll definitely get to that. Let me just check these notifications. Okay, just some likes. Appreciate that, guys. All right, so let's move on to Vlad's take on what would it take for Dogecoin to be the future currency of the internet and the people, in his opinion. And just keep in mind how massive this opinion is. He is the CEO of the largest crypto exchange, or second largest, right behind Binance. I'm not sure which one's in the lead, in the world. All right. This guy knows what he's talking about. First off, he says, transaction fees have to be vanishingly small. We're already there. As of last November's 1.14.5 update, typical transaction fees have been 0.003 cents. Now keep in mind, or dollars rather, keep in mind, if there was a 1 right here, that would be 1 penny. So this is basically a third of a penny. That's how cheap the transaction fees are right now. And he says, which you can experience on the Robinhood app. A little promotion to use Robinhood if you want to only have to pay those fees for your transactions, compared to the 1 to 3% that network fees that major card networks charge. This is really important. I'm not going to overanalyze this one, but this is really important because this is Dogecoin's angle. Yes, it's a decentralized currency, which is great, just like Bitcoin and just like everything else that's crypto, pretty much. Decentralized is kind of the main angle. Yes, that's great. But to be real competition for a currency of the people, there needs to be a benefit to actually using it. And what can you think of as a potential benefit? An improvement over the current payment networks that we have. So think of things like Visa, MasterCard, so on and so forth, and the payment systems that those things utilize. What are the pain points of those? Is it transaction speed? Not necessarily. Now, with the new chip cards, maybe it's a little more annoying because they are a little slower than the mag swipe, or what was it called? Mag. I think it was mag swipe. A little more inconvenient than that, but just by a couple seconds. But what's the real pain point? Well, it's going to be the transaction fees, the network fees that those card networks actually charge. Now, me and you, as the consumer, as the person swiping our card, we don't necessarily notice those transaction fees. They're not usually apparent to us. We just buy the item. Here's the price. We pay the price, pay tax, sales tax, and that's it. But the person that's actually selling the item, so the merchant, they are the ones that usually have to eat that fee. And I think with credit cards, it's even higher than with debit. I'm not 100% sure. That might be inaccurate. But either way, there is a fee, like he said here, 1 to 3% of the transaction is charged as a network fee that the merchant then has to pay back to Visa or MasterCard or whatever payment platform that they are using. So they lose money on transactions. But Dogecoin's transaction fees are a third of a penny. Significant difference here. And that's pretty much a flat rate versus 1 to 3% of the transaction. Big deal. So that's one reason why Dogecoin's already, like you said, transaction fees have to be extremely small, and they are. So step two is complete. Step 1, send and receive Doge on Robinhood. Step 2, transaction fees low. Third tweet here was, ideally, the block time, which is time between successive blocks being added to the chain to verify a transaction, should be fast enough that the transaction can be recorded in the next block in less time than it takes to pay at a point of sale terminal. See, this guy's talking the facts, and this is the stuff I've been talking about for a while. And it needs to be just as fast, and that's why Bitcoin, before Lightning especially, was not going to be a good option for that. Because Bitcoin, it has to have like 20 block verifications, and it could take 30 minutes for a transaction to go through. No one's going to go to checkout. No one's going to go to checkout and try to pay in Bitcoin and stand there and hold up the line for 30 minutes while the little thing spins like it's loading until 20 verifications come back and say verified and transaction approved. That's not going to happen. You'll probably just get kicked out the store and asked never to try that again. It needs to be just as fast, if not faster, than swiping your card, and 5 or less seconds later, it says approved after you put in your PIN. So that's another thing. But he said, but it shouldn't be so fast that miners start building up too many competing chains and waste excessive amounts of energy establishing consensus. Thanks. So it needs to be super fast, but it shouldn't be so fast to where it starts causing problems. Now, This is actually important because you look at some other blockchains that are just offering or advertising blistering amounts of transactions per second. How many transactions per second is too much? Apparently, according to Vlad, there is a limit to where it could start to cause some problems and you start becoming wasteful and causing some problems. So apparently there is a balance here. And I'll read a couple comments before we go to the next part. Yeah, I'll definitely share Bitcoin and ETH thoughts. Rafi 7 says buy. I love the 1 to 2 word answers always from 7. It's either buy, sell. I think there was a sell now one time. That was rare. Or it's 2 cents. There's really only 3 things that he says. It's pretty impressive. Matt's Market, and it's been like a year. Matt's Market says it's hard out here for a Bitcoin pimp trying to get this money for the rent. Hey, I understand. Bitcoin right now is kind of struggling, looking a little shaky. Hey, Dougie. He says, hey, Mariano, Robinhood just listed new cryptos to buy. Do you know about Compound? I did know about Compound because I did Coinbase's thing where they have you learn about different cryptos, and I read about Compound, but at this moment I can't remember much about it. But let's circle back to Compound after this. Let's add it to the list of things to review. But I would say any coin that gets added onto Robinhood short term is probably a decent one to buy into for a few different reasons. And good to see you, Matt. Thanks for hanging out in the stream. I really appreciate the support. Don't forget, guys, Matt also does live stream as well. So check out his channel. Click on his profile, click subscribe, and catch his next live stream. He goes often, a little bit more than me as well, so you might like that. Rafi says, I think Comp is a good look. It's a crypto financial company, and they do lending into the crypto space. If it drops under $100, I would get some. What do I think? Oh, yeah, that's right. They did lending. Yeah, let's come back to that. But, yeah, I think Compound seemed like a super solid project. And I always say the most popular ones in the sector is probably not a bad move. So if Compound's the most popular one in the lending space, it's probably not a bad investment. Just have to keep an eye out for competition. But we'll come back to that. All right, so again, the part we just left off on, transactions should be very fast, but not too fast. Doge's current block time is 1 minute. This is a bit on the long side for payments. Interesting. A 10-second block time would be more appropriate, as it would be less than the typical time spent completing a debit card transaction. Currently, with a 1 megabyte block size and 1 minute block time, Doge's throughput is about 40 transactions per second. So let's analyze this a little bit. Actually, let's read the next part. As a comparison, Visa's network can theoretically handle 65,000 transactions per second. So 40 on the Doge network versus 65,000. Doge would need to be able to significantly outperform Visa, which entails increasing throughput by at least 10,000x. Fortunately, this is easy to solve by simply increasing the block size limit. Moving to a 1 gig and then later 10 gig block size would provide all the throughput of global currency, all the throughput a global currency would need for the foreseeable future. Layer 2 solutions are not necessary to solve this problem. And the next point, he just says something quick about Raspberry Pi users, kind of irrelevant to most of us. So let's take a look at what he just said. Robinhood wallets enable the process the gears to start turning for potential for Doge to become a currency, because we've unlocked most of the Doge that's being held and we're allowing it to then be spent. So now we're unlocking Doge's potential significantly to be a currency. In order to continue down step 2, now that step 1's complete with this unlocking, step 2, transaction fees should be significantly lower than 1 to 3%, which is a credit card or debit card transaction fee, and they are at 0.3 cents flat rate. So that's actually a big catalyst and a big plus for merchants. Their fees would significantly be reduced. And then his next point, so we have step 1 and step 2 complete. Step 3 is going to be block time and the amount of time that transactions would take to go through, because if this is actually going to be a global currency, or let's just say, to start off with, just a currency for the people of the United States. Let's just start there. You're going to need to be able to handle a lot of transactions per second. The last thing that you're going to want, so we know that transactions are fast enough, but, or can be executed quickly or cheaply. But once you start getting a lot of people trying to do transactions each second, and all of them needing priority, let's just say we have 100 people per second. They're in stores in line trying to make purchases. They're going to have to wait for a couple blocks to go by to get an open spot for their transaction to end up in the, let's just say, the third block, which is going to take them at this rate 1 block per minute. It's going to take 3 minutes. That's not going to work. That's only with 100 people trying to do it at the same time. Imagine thousands. Now, Visa theoretically can do 65K. Do they hit that? Probably not. But we're going to want to be able to make people feel comfortable about adopting something like this. We're going to want to outperform Visa's potential to, again, give a reason why they should switch. So cheaper, there's a reason why. More network throughput, there's another reason why. Throughput, rather. And he said that the way that this could be done would be moving to a much larger block size. And so that would allow way more transactions to be stored in a block. So we could do way more transactions each minute. Now, one thing here. So I guess the max amount of time, even still, if you increase the block size, the max amount of time that you would have to wait could still be up to 1 minute. But let's just say that you got thrown into a block kind of towards the end. I guess your transaction time could be lower. But increasing that block size would make it max 1 minute at that point, unless you somehow exceed the transactions per second limit. So that's interesting. Now, okay, so let's move on. Another criticism, and this is something I've been saying for a while, and I think people really kind of ignored this statement that I've made. But it says, another criticism of Doge is that it's inflationary and the supply is infinite, as opposed to Bitcoin's finite supply of 21 million coins. So basically, we know, everybody's like, oh, well, Dogecoin, the reason why you shouldn't hold Doge and the reason why it's a bad investment is because there's so much new Dogecoin printed every minute and every year. Why not invest in something that's hyper deflationary, like all these new fad coins, and even Bitcoin, which has a limited supply of 21 million, and it has a whole structure of how it's going to be harder and harder to keep up. Now, here he's saying that's one of the criticisms of Dogecoin, the increasing supply, the never-ending increase of supply. 5 billion new Doge are created every year, and the current supply is about 132 billion. So by the end of this year, it'll be about 137. He said this results in a current inflation rate of, less than 5%, or about 5%, which is less than the US dollar. So at this point, he is correct. So with Dogecoin in its current setup, the inflation rate is about 5%. Now, as of like this year, with the inflation rate being like 7%, we are currently sitting in a spot where inflation of Doge is less than the US dollar. So at this current time, it's already better to be holding Doge than USD, just without doing anything, no price fluctuations considered. But I will say that when the US dollar is having a better year, USD could match or maybe outperform just a bit. But then he says, moreover, the fixed issuance, so the fixed rate at which Dogecoin does get created means that the inflation rate actually declines over time, and in a couple of decades, it will be below 2%. So I guess the reasoning here is that we're looking at the percentage inflation. So what is 5 billion Doge every year compared to current supply of 132? Well, I guess it's about 5%. So 5 is 5%-ish of 132. But the more that this number increases, the less the percentage inflation or the less is the number that Doge is actually being inflated. With that 5 billion, it just becomes less and less and less relevant as the total supply starts to increase. Now, that could mean kind of bad short term, but Dogecoin progressively gets more deflationary over time because the limit or the amount of Doge that is created is always fixed, no matter what. It's not a percentage-based increase in coin. It is a fixed number. And then he says, this is the conclusion. Message to Dogecoin core devs. I would focus on one thing, and that is coming up with a good process for increasing the block size limit over time. Let me know what you all think. So here we now can see Vlad clearly has been giving this a whole lot of thought. And honestly, not to toot my own horn by any means, he's saying all the things that I've been saying to you guys for like the last 6 months. Dogecoin needs to be faster. We need faster transactions. It needs to be cheaper. We need to have a good argument to present to companies on why they should switch from using Visa, MasterCard, and the easy payment methods to switching to Dogecoin. And I'm not talking about using middleman services like BitPay and all this other nonsense that basically just sit in the middle as an exchange that automates the selling and converting for somebody. I'm talking about I send you Doge, you take Doge. Basically, like I hand it to you. Person to person, no middleman. When you start putting a middleman back in there, you're defeating the whole purpose of decentralization. That it's completely counterintuitive and productive, and I struggle to see why people don't acknowledge that. You're just reinserting centralized technology into decentralized technology when the whole purpose of decentralized technology is to be decentralized completely. Just kind of ridiculous. Anyway, so that's Vlad's angle here. Oh, looks like the screen froze a bit. So yeah, this is really interesting, and you can see he's been thinking about this a lot. Obviously, he thinks that Doge has a lot of potential to be that currency, with him saying that we pretty much have all the pieces of the puzzle here, and we're already pretty much there, and people are just kind of missing the big picture, but we just need larger block size or faster transaction rate. But larger block size, probably the easiest way to go, and he's saying increase block size over time, and that would allow us to accommodate more transactions over time. So as use increases, we can accommodate more use. And potentially as transactions also include more data, as maybe more Dogecoin is being spent per transaction, then block size increase would also help with that as well. And so I think this is one of the biggest new catalysts, in my opinion, for just interest in Dogecoin. I'm not saying for Dogecoin to go to $2. We know I don't do that on this channel. But important people, we've got Elon Musk and now the CEO of Robinhood, are serious about the fact that Dogecoin could take over the world as the payment system, as the payment method. And if we are ignoring all of this chatter just because, I don't know, for whatever reason, probably not very smart to do. And at this point, it's just becoming like a no-brainer. Like I said, it wouldn't be very smart to ignore it. So it's kind of becoming a no-brainer to have some interest in Dogecoin and potentially look for dips. Even if you don't want to all in or anything, because you don't know how long it's going to take, you want to keep your capital freed up so you can invest in other things. Completely understandable. But I would definitely be showing some interest, maybe buying some, and just getting your foot in there, because we don't know what Doge can become. You look at coinmarketcap.com right now, and you see Bitcoin market cap $750 billion. You see, or $1 billion. You see that, oh no, I was right the first time. Man, that's a lot of money. You see Ethereum at roughly half that. You see Dogecoin down here in 11th place at about 20 billion. You're like, okay, whatever. Dogecoin only has but so much potential. Yeah, it can, let's just say, 20, what would that be? 10x. Let's just say Dogecoin can add a 0. So that would be 10x, and then maybe times 5, and that would match Bitcoin. So what is that, about 40, 50x? Dogecoin has maybe that potential. But what is that really going to get us to? Like a $30, $40 Dogecoin or something? Maybe in a perfect world, eventually down the line. I'm sorry, a multiple dollar Dogecoin. My math was way off there. Sorry for anyone who did that math and then just kind of stared at the screen. I apologize. But yeah, what is that going to be, like a $5 Dogecoin or something like that? Yeah, but we don't know if Dogecoin actually takes over. So Bitcoin's value is starting to increase, even though we are having some rough market conditions right now with the war and everything. People are starting to assign more mental value, even though it has not shown in the price yet, more mental value to Bitcoin because it's becoming adopted, because it's becoming legal tender in different countries, and people are now, like accepting it almost like via ADP. They're accepting Bitcoin as how they want to get paid their paychecks, like their check that they pay their mortgage with and their car payment with and their insurance with. They're opting to get paid straight up in Bitcoin versus cash. So that's big news for Bitcoin. And we could see Bitcoin start to skyrocket really soon, based off just a lot of different things, including that. Dogecoin, we don't know what's going to happen when that kind of thing happens with Doge. Doge could end up somewhere up here with Bitcoin. It could happen. Or it could go beyond that. If Dogecoin becomes arguably more useful than Bitcoin, then we could see Doge in first place and starting to exceed the price and market cap of Bitcoin. Don't forget that market cap is just assigned value. So if we assign more value to Dogecoin one day than Bitcoin, and we say, yeah, Doge is probably more useful than Bitcoin, all things considered, that could mean market cap is higher than Bitcoin. And then Dogecoin setting the new price target. So what does that mean? 10, 15, 20? It's not impossible. Though it is short-term unreasonable, it's not long-term impossible. So don't sleep on the Doge is all I have to say. Do not sleep on the Doge. Even Vitalik Buterin, the creator of Ethereum, he made the comment that he could easily see Dogecoin even taking over Ethereum's spot in market cap. So that means that he could see his coin, which is valued at nearly $500 billion, overtaken by Doge, which currently sits here at 19 billion. So he said it, not just me. So that's pretty much all for that. I'll read a couple more comments and then we'll kind of speed through the last couple things because I know we're approaching 40 minutes here. What do you think about companies accepting Dogecoin but through BitPay? I think they just want to make us think they care about Dogecoin, unlike Doge Beans Cafe in Kentucky, which actually accepts it natively. That's exactly my point. So my thought with those companies is that exactly what you just said. It really appears to me, and the reason I don't like it, there's genuine hype about Dogecoin, and there's genuine people trying to move the movement forward, and it's kind of like a we help you, you help us thing. So for example, when we approach McDonald's and we're like, hey, McDonald's, you guys should accept Dogecoin. This could help us both. Now, we know that the price is relatively stable around this area, so we're kind of at a minimum. At worst, Doge goes down to what? Maybe 10 cents, maybe 9. But the upside potential, Doge can go back up to 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. It's already been there and it could go back. So maybe by you accepting Doge, your money will multiply. All right. Worst case scenario, you lose a couple percentage points on the value. So that's your risk. But potential reward is for us, that adoption is going to make the price skyrocket. Dogecoin adoption. That's our main catalyst. It's going to make the price go up. So that's good for us both. And then for you, we're going to go and we're going to spend Dogecoin because we're excited. We're going to go to McDonald's. Even people that don't normally like it, like myself, I would have gone to McDonald's just to spend some Dogecoin. And I may have gone there multiple times. That's free money in McDonald's pocket. They could have done a short-term, temporary run, whatever. But the point is that native integration helps us both. So that would have been an honest and useful partnership. Now, what's not an honest and useful partnership and what is just taking advantage of marketing, which is if we can use the Doge name but not really expose ourselves to Dogecoin because we don't actually believe in it and we don't want to take that risk. But if we can just start marketing and using Dogecoin in our marketing and expose ourselves to no risk, then maybe it'll benefit our company. And that's what I see with people accepting Dogecoin via BitPay. Because and here's the thing, if you know how BitPay works, you know that the default setting and the way that most companies are going to be utilizing it is to let me and you, whoever wants to pay with their cryptocurrency of choice. Because now, I mean, if you're paying with BitPay, you open yourself up to be able to accept, what is it, like hundreds of cryptocurrencies, because that's what BitPay allows. But the thing that BitPay does, it lets us pay in that cryptocurrency. They take it, they immediately and automatically convert it to the US dollar, and then they pay the merchant in USD. So yeah, we're paying in Doge, we're paying in Shiba Inu coin, we're paying in Bitcoin, but the end user is not getting Doge, SHIB, or Bitcoin. They're just getting cash. It's no different. And we're also, like I said, introducing centralized middlemen, third parties in between to make the transaction work, which completely defeats the purpose of using the cryptocurrency in the first place, because these people are tracking, like you create an account, you have your information directly tied to it, your name, your address, all your different information, your bank account, whatnot. And then, I mean, BitPay or whoever's in the middle is collecting all that information per transaction. So does it not just defeat the whole purpose anyway? But then, like I said, the real point is it shows nothing for adoption, because the companies are not exposing themselves to any of these cryptocurrencies. Nothing has changed. It's the same difference as if we went on Coinbase or Robinhood or something like that. We had Dogecoin, we sold it, got cash back for it, sent it to our bank accounts, and then paid AMC or whoever in cash. There's no difference. It just does it automatically, and it does it faster. So, yeah, I think it's a scam, and I've been saying that for a while. Now, Doge Beans did it the right way. 100%, and that's the way it needs to be done. Tesla, if you go to their website, they're doing it the right way, 100%. It gives you the option, pay in Doge, gives you a QR code, you're sending your Dogecoin to their Dogecoin wallet. They are interacting with Doge, they're being exposed to it. We are, it says this is how much Doge is going to cost you. All the items on the website are listed in Dogecoin prices, not USD. Like, okay, if you want to whistle, it's going to be 500 Doge. Okay, you go to pay, my Doge goes to them, direct handoff. Even my merch store that I was running before, even that, same thing. Now, I did use Coinbase Commerce, but I had my settings internally set to where if you paid in Doge, I was getting Doge. I did not want a conversion, and that's the way I held it. But even that, like, you can't know for sure. So it's still a little dicey. I prefer just the direct handoff, and the dev team is working on like a direct Dogecoin wallet and a platform that will kind of allow that to happen the right way. Yeah, that will be accessible for merchants. So I think that's really the end goal, is to wait for the Dogecoin core dev team to finish working on that Dogecoin payment system and have that roll out, because that will probably be the key way we'll want to integrate in the future to make that happen the right way. Rafi says, when you get a chance to double back for a Q&A, what do you think about Bitcoin possibly becoming a world reserve currency in the next few years? I think Ray Val says, I'm having trouble with this puzzle, Mariano. Could you help me? Why cheaper? Remind me of the why cheaper, like what you were referring to. Sorry, I kind of got your comment a little late. And what puzzle? I know Ray Val, I think he's trolling me, but we'll see. What do I think about Bitcoin possibly becoming a world reserve currency in the next few years? I think that angle actually makes the most sense. Dogecoin, or whatever coin, all right, I'm not just a Dogecoin fanatic, even though I do like it. Let's just say XRP, Dogecoin, XLM, or whatever other decent cryptocurrency becoming a currency of the people, and then Bitcoin becoming a reserve currency. The reason I say that is because, like I've been saying for the last couple streams and for a while, it just makes no sense to use Bitcoin for payments. It's not bad to get Bitcoin as payment from your job, Bitcoin is a store of value. It's an asset that appreciates in value over time, and it's supposed to appreciate significantly in value over time and be relatively stable as well. And it's trustworthy. There's a limited supply. It's a good replacement to the US dollar, being that it's just, in some ways, it's better than it, especially when it comes to inflation. So if you're going to be holding something for a long period of time, it makes more sense to be holding something that's going to increase in value, like Bitcoin, and not decrease in value, like cash. So for that reason, I think Bitcoin is just much better as something to sit on in large quantities and spend it only when needed. Worst case scenario. And so as a reserve currency, I think Bitcoin makes a lot more sense. And with that, with those benefits and the way it angles itself, I mean, multiple countries can use it as that reserve currency, hold a lot of it, use it as a backup, use it as the main thing that they send around as payment to each other. Sure. But for like day-to-day transactions where you're doing multiple per day, the cost to spend Bitcoin is just unreasonable. And the speeds of which Bitcoin or the slowness of the network is also unreasonable. And it doesn't make sense for point of sale payments in person, maybe online if you have 10 minutes to wait. But if you're in a checkout, it's not going to happen. It's just not. And then you have to use things like the Flexa network or something like that to kind of advance automatically verify the transaction for you and hope that you actually had the funds. And then, they kind of work as the insurance on that transaction in case you didn't. It creates, you have to have all these workarounds. Dogecoin, you don't need workarounds. It just is better. So, and then another thing is, why get rid of an appreciating asset when you can get rid of a depreciating one? So if I had a car that I bought for 100K and I know in 2 years it's going to be 500K, why? And I need to sell something for money, right? And then I have another car that's 100K and I know that in 2 years it's just not as valuable of a car. It tends to depreciate quickly, and in 2 years it's going to be worth half the price. Wouldn't I want, if I needed 100K, to sell the depreciating one and use that to get the money or whatever I need versus selling my appreciating asset? So using Bitcoin as a currency and constantly getting rid of it for goods every day, to me, it just makes no sense. You should definitely be spending the depreciating asset, the inflationary one, which is the Dogecoin, and Bitcoin is your holding asset. So, hey, what's going on, Skydive? Welcome to the stream. Good to see you. It's been a minute. Hope you're doing well. All right. And so that's kind of the rant on the whole Dogecoin thing, guys. That took a little longer than I planned, but this will make an interesting video for anyone watching it back in the future, I guess. Vlad is on to it. And this is what I've been saying for a while. Vlad understands it. Elon understands it. Now, speaking of Elon, before we kind of conclude with the technical analysis, before we conclude with the technicals on Bitcoin and ETH and all that, I just wanted to kind of give an update on the newest with our other catalyst, which is Elon Musk purchasing Twitter. So we know that he really wanted that to happen. He put a pretty good price out there. He was going to buy it for, what was that, like nearly 50 or $40 billion. He was just going to buy out Twitter altogether, take it private, take it off the stock market, and fix it. Add an edit button, address his concerns with free speech being limited and all of that, right? He was going to do all of that. But it looks like Twitter, the board of Twitter, is not so fond of the idea. Now, people are starting to wonder, especially shareholders, are starting to wonder, why would the board be against Elon Musk taking over their company for almost double the valuation of the company a couple days ago? So if you were looking at Twitter's stock price about a week ago, it was sitting at about $31 per share. Elon Musk offered 54. Now, for that reason, obviously the share price shot right up to 54 because people are like, okay, if this goes through, it's going to be 54 per share. So people were willing to buy it up to that point, hoping to make even $1 per share. Buying up to 53, sell for 54, you still make profit. And then we stalled out there, and I'll do the technical charting on that in a minute. But Yeah, so we did have a brief touch at 54, but still, I mean, that's not sustainable if that sale is not going to go through. So let's just say Twitter worth 20 per share. Elon offers almost double. Why wouldn't they take that? Well, some interesting information has been brought to light recently, and that is that most of the board of Twitter, most of them are not large stakeholders. So even though this sounds great, now usually if you're working for a company, especially if you're working for someone like Google, someone like Tesla, Apple, you get shares as part of your compensation package. That's part of like your salary bonus. You'll get shares of the company. So if it ever gets sold, or if the value just goes up over time, you can sell it at a profit, and that's extra money in your pocket. Now, you would expect that the board may be large shareholders of Twitter, and they would be more than happy to take that profit and pocket that. But if you look at the numbers here, this is information that's been brought to light recently. If you look at the board members, this is their percentage ownership by the shares that they hold in the company. Now, Jack Dorsey, who was kind of the main guy that kind of understood everything, he was the largest shareholder on the board, sitting at 2%. 2% of the company. So he would have, if we were to do that math, let's just say the company was worth like 20 billion before Elon made the offer, and he owned 2% of that. So you can do that math. That's what he would have pocketed during the sale, plus anything else. Now, the other board, now he left, so Jack is no longer on the board. These are the guys that are on the board that are now having say, with this being the CEO, Parag here. These are the guys on the board now having the say in whether or not the sale goes through. If you look at their percentage ownership in the company and how many shares that they actually hold, by these small percentages, you can tell they are not going to be making a whole lot of money from this share price increase. So they may not particularly care, because what is this amount of money really going to be to them? Maybe just a couple $1,000s or something. Maybe it's a couple tens of thousands of dollars. Either way, being on the board, it probably does not mean a lot in relation to their salary that they're currently getting paid. So this whole offer Elon's making is not directly going to benefit them. And so so that's probably one of the reasons why there's some pushback. They're not having the same feeling that a lot of their shareholders could be having. And that's why Elon replied and said, wow, with Jack departing at 2% ownership, the Twitter board collectively owns almost no full shares. So if you add all of their ownership up, I'm not even sure you get to 1%. And then he says, objectively, their economic interests are simply not aligned with the shareholders. So all the people that are invested in Twitter that would be benefiting from this sale, they can't relate because they don't have any stock. So that's what Elon was saying. They're not incentivized to accept this because they don't own any stock. And so now what they're considering is doing some kind of thing, and I think it's referred to technically as like taking a poison pill. They're trying to figure out how to avoid accepting the deal without breaking the law or anything like that and being able to get sued. And so what they're trying to do, from what I was able to see recently, is make it very difficult for Elon to proceed with the sale if he really wants to. And the way that I thought I had it pulled up somewhere, but it looked like the plan was to dump more shares into the market. So whatever ownership, I guess, remains of Twitter, split those up into more shares, dump those into the market to make Elon Musk have to pay more. Because he offered, what was it, like $54 per share? So if you dump hundreds of thousands more shares into the market, then he has to pay $54 per share for all those new shares that are in the market. And so then it becomes way more expensive. And then maybe he says, you know what? I don't want to pay another $20 billion. That wasn't in my original plan when I made that offer. So looks like that's going to be their way to dissuade him. So that being said, at this point, it does not look like this sale is going to go through. Now it could if Elon just says, okay, yeah, I'm willing to pay another 10, 20 billion, but probably won't happen. So that is kind of bad news for Dogecoin initially, but big picture, Elon Musk will still probably get what he wants because he still is a large shareholder. Hope that summed that up pretty well. So I'll start to close these out. One other catalyst for Dogecoin, guys, it looks like, and I don't know the accuracy of this, but it looks pretty legit by how many people have interacted with it, and nobody's discounting it here. Everybody just says that they're excited. It looks like there's something going on there's a project called Radio Doge, which could be big. It says, it will be possible with the project Radio Doge, which focuses on the ability to transact with Dogecoin without internet access. This could be really big. It focuses on using radio technology combined with the global Starlink satellite network, directly using Elon's technology to enable access to Dogecoin for people outside of the reach of the internet. It's kind of the same way you'd be able to pay with cash or with your card. You'll be able to somehow pay with Dogecoin using radio technology where you do not have the internet, using the Starlink network. This again makes Dogecoin, once this happens, will make it a great alternative to using credit and debit as we know it today. So that's pretty big, and we'll definitely be excited to see that play out. That would be huge for Dogecoin becoming a currency. All right. So I think that's pretty much it with my articles. I'll touch on this one later at another time. This was kind of unrelated for the sake of time. And so we'll just conclude with a little bit of TA, which we have not done yet. And let's go to Bitcoin and Ethereum. So Bitcoin, I don't know if you guys have been watching, but things over in Russia, which we know is the main reason why Bitcoin has tanked and Bitcoin is sitting at these prices. You know, the war is really keeping everybody a little afraid. Things over in Russia have not been improving. Ones could say it's getting worse, or it's just still just as bad. Nothing's really gotten better. What do I see Bitcoin doing here? Well, as you can see on the 4-hour time frame, we could go up to the daily here, but it gives you a little less info. But what you can clearly see, either way, is the fact that Bitcoin, if I just move this out the way and I hide these indicators, Bitcoin is forming a consolidation triangle right here. So I'm going to use the polyline. This is Webull, by the way. If you don't have a Webull account and you like this charting, you can check out and you would like a link to download it and get some free stocks, let me know. But as you can see, and I messed up the triangle here, but I'm just trying to finish it. Bitcoin's doing a consolidation triangle. Anytime you see a triangle form or a flag pattern form or anything like that, it's an indicator that something is about to happen next. And what you need to look for is the direction that the move starts in. So what move breaks out of the triangle? Is it up out of the triangle on the upside, or does it break out of the bottom of the triangle? If it breaks out the bottom, it's a bearish breakout. If it breaks out the top, it's a bullish breakout. It'll probably continue upward. At this point in time, you can see from this daily candle, we are really testing the bottom side of this triangle here. If we bring it down to the 4-hour time frame, you can still see the same thing. At this point in time, things don't particularly look bullish. It looks more like we made a beeline all the way down to the bottom, struggled to find support, made a move up to the top, immediately rejected all the way back to the bottom, and now we're doing this tight consolidation with lots of rejection wicks, big price rejection wicks on the top side, showing that people were feeling like the price was too high, overvalued, and so people were more than compelled to sell each time we hit these high prices. Like, that's a great take profit. We probably shouldn't have been there anyway. That's usually bearish signals. People are feeling like the price shouldn't be that high and is probably going to go down. Now, that sentiment tells us a lot, and it tells us the way people are feeling. If they feel like the price is too high, unless whales come in and manipulate the market and get people to think a different way, the move is probably going to play out the way that people are feeling, because they're going to be bearish, they're going to be more inclined to sell, and they will, and selling pressure makes price or the bars go down. It's just a demonstration of what's happening in the market. So they're going to sell, the price will go down. And so if that happens, we break below the triangle here. Now the support is pretty conveniently right at about 40,000, which is going to be a strong level. Every major increment in price is pretty significant, and this is a multiple of 10,000 right at the 40,000 level. So it's going to be a strong support for that reason. It's going to be a strong mental support for people, and we've got the bottom of the triangle support as well, kind of intersecting here. So it's going to take a lot of bearish pressure to break us through the bottom, but if we do, if we just zoom out, bigger picture, you can see that it'll probably be a continuation breakout down further into the darkness. Now, this box was here. This was the potential dip zone, stopping zone that I had put before. And this was sitting at right around 37-ish thousand up to 40,000. This was my prediction of where the price was going to first end up stopping before something significant happened and we got to reevaluate and see where we're at. So as you can see, we already had touches into that zone. We've already stopped and we're finding support here, or trying to. But if we end up breaking this support here, this upward trend, we'll end up back in that zone, and we could end up retesting the initial bottoms here. So we could retest basically 39K, which will bring Doge down probably a cent or two, cent and a half. And if we break that support, once we retest, let me get rid of this red box again. If we retest support at 39, like so, let's just say we try and we break below, and we're probably going to come on down, and we'll probably retest this 39 area, do a little bouncing, whatever. But if we fail 39, that's going to be where bad news starts to kick in, because then we start heading towards the danger zone, which is down here, and that's what this gray box is. This is like what I call the all-time low area. So once we start getting back into that zone, if we go to the daily time frame here, you can see what I'm talking about. Now, initially, after all the bad news started to kick in with Elon Musk kind of banishing Bitcoin and starting this whole thing, and then the war, and then the issues in China and all of that, not the war, but them banning crypto and all the FUD that started to spread and people starting to get really panicky, the lowest point that we got to was 28.8, right below 30K. This whole zone right here is the danger zone to me. So anywhere from that point that we hit, which is 38,000, up to somewhere around, let me just say 30, anywhere under this area, honestly. So 39 to 28. I don't really want to see us go under that 39 support, because then we start getting comfortable down in the 35 to 39 area. And if we don't hold support there, then we get concerningly low at this last level of support before the danger zone kicks in, which is 33K. So I do not particularly want to see us break the triangle, go back into the dip zone, and then break out of the dip zone under 39 and start heading into like mid 30s. That to me would signal concern for a couple different reasons. The main reason, is what I just told you, and that's that we're getting back down to that 33 to 35, which is really, really close to that 30 and under. And if we get down below there, obviously we could see another crash, which is not what we want. But the other reason is because there's no good reason overall for Bitcoin to be down there. We already had the worst news come regarding the war. That already hit. Everyone's already panicked, and panic sold, and that's why we saw this 33K hit. This has already happened. Or, I'm sorry, we saw at least one of, I forget exactly when that news hit. Maybe it was here. But we saw one of these lows. Either way, it's down under 35K. We saw it happen already. We already had the sell-off from panic. We're not getting worse news from the war. There's no reason for panic to be increasing at this point without worse news. Not to that point to where we start making new lows. Other than the war, Bitcoin's been getting really good news. No country, the United States did not pass that infrastructure bill to end up completely banning the use of Bitcoin and all of that and mining. They figured that out. Other countries have been adopting it as legal tender. Institutions have been investing in it. ETFs are in the talks. More countries continue to adopt it as legal tender and allow their people to get paid in it. and companies are now paying their employees in it. And then celebrities and big money people are all on the crypto train and all holding Bitcoin and talking about it. So all of these catalysts, with the only negative one really being the war going on right now, there's no reason for Bitcoin to be selling off and hitting new lows. So if that happens, that really will show that there's potentially a greater concern, maybe greater than what we can see, and that the market isn't as stable as we thought. And that could really cause people to panic, thinking, what the heck is going on? This shouldn't be happening. I told you Bitcoin wasn't stable. I told you Bitcoin wasn't a good idea. Telling all their friends, all the people like Crypto Whale on Twitter coming out of the darkness, saying, I told you, pointing their fingers, and everyone just going crazy, panicking and selling. And that could get us back down into here. So, because there's no reason to be selling off. Why are we? If people feel like they don't understand anymore, they're going to start to distrust Bitcoin, and that could cause a whole problem. But I'm not bearish on Bitcoin. If anything, I'm more bullish. But I think Bitcoin is in a bit of a pickle right now, and it needs to get its act together. But I do think we could see a breakout of the triangle to the bottom side, but it could be like a fake out move where we just kind of get back down in here and then come back out. Rafi says, so in your thoughts, why is it down where it's at? The only reason I can really think of that it's down where it's at is because, and this is the last thing I wanted to talk about, there was one little piece of news that came out recently that was not particularly good. And that was regarding the war. And it was a threat that was recently made. So I don't know if you guys have seen, but the war, in Russia and Ukraine is still going on. It's still pretty much just as bad. They did open up some humanitarian corridors to allow some people to escape. But overall, still not good. Nothing's gotten better, per se. Civilians are still getting killed, etc., etc. Now, the thing that's interesting is that because of Ukraine's unpreparedness to completely defend against someone like Russia, other countries have been stepping in and granting them arms. So they've been sending them weapons and different means of reinforcement to help keep them afloat and allow them to defend themselves better. The United States recently got involved and sent them some kind of massive care package, or is going to, and sent them, or at least said that they would send them. I don't know if they actually did it yet or not, but intended to send them a significant amount of weapons so that they could also better defend themselves. So we decided to get involved. Russia sent a warning, and I think I retweeted it. So let me see if I can find it, because this was actually the last Twitter thing I wanted to share. Let's see if I retweeted it. No, it doesn't look like I did. But Russia basically threatened and said to the United States, don't get involved. If you do get involved, you're going to see very undesirable and unpredictable consequences for your actions. It was basically a war threat back to the United States, that Russia was going to retaliate against the U.S. if they got involved. And it did not seem like a sanctions retaliation. It was more like a violence retaliation. And everyone is super on edge right now because there's a war going on where everybody's like, oh yeah, we're not going to use nukes. Let's just use our guns. Let's use our tanks. We're not going to use nukes. But everybody is super on edge about the fact that it could happen. And if it does, we're going to have a World War III going on. And obviously, now people dying and everything, that's more important. But you could assume, rightfully, that the price would probably dump of cryptocurrencies, as that would be the last thing on people's minds is their Bitcoin investment. So that was some of the bad news. I think that just happened today or yesterday. And I think that could push Bitcoin towards this bottom. And maybe that's why we're seeing the sell-off. And that could help us get into 39. I still don't think, unless that gets worse, though, that we should be under 39. If it drops, I'm still buying more. 21 million? Whoa. 21 million what? You have 21 million in Bitcoin? Yo, let me get a couple Bitcoins. I'm just playing. Anyway, so that's pretty much it, guys. That's my analysis on Bitcoin. I think we're towards the bottom. We shouldn't be seeing under 39. This is looking like a pretty good buy zone, especially if you're looking to buy Bitcoin. It's probably a good buy zone. I don't think we're really going to go under 39. I don't see a good reason for it. If we do, especially not really under like 38, 37, if we end up under there, something grander is going wrong. And we will obviously, because of that, need to reconsider our estimates on which direction it's going to go. Ethereum, let's see where Ethereum's going. Ethereum's actually really cheap right now, sitting at 3,000. That's a good discount. I would buy that dip any day. ETH2 is supposedly right around the corner, and I expect that Ethereum will go up in value once that happens. So for that reason, I think anything significantly under 4K on Ethereum is a nice dip buy, especially if you can get it in 1,000s or 2,000s. That's really great, and we're testing that 2,000s area. And then just to flip back to Doge, Doge has shown some signs of weakness as well recently, mostly because of 21 million out there. Yeah. Gotcha. Doge has shown some signs of weakness, mostly because I'm going to say Bitcoin, but also because any news. So we know that the catalyst that got us up to 18 was Elon buying Twitter. If we then hear that Elon's not buying Twitter, obviously that's bearish news, or at least not bullish anymore. And we're going to continue to sell off a lot of the hype that got us up there. Now, we are pretty much back at the pre-hype point, so we're probably going to stabilize here. We could see a touch in the 13s. Wouldn't be surprised if we get confirmation that the deal will not go through. But like I've been saying for the last couple days, the deal does not have to go through for Dogecoin to be integrated into Twitter. They don't want Elon to own all of Twitter for multiple reasons. Okay, Elon is still the largest to second largest, depending on when Vanguard decides to mess with their current holdings. Elon is still in the top 2 largest shareholders of Twitter. He has a lot of say. They're going to value his opinion, especially because they know that he can kind of manipulate the price with things that he says. He's shown it time and time again. So they're going to value his opinion. If he says, let's get an edit button in there, we're getting the edit button. If he says, let's get Dogecoin tips integrated, we're getting Dogecoin tips integrated, guys. He does not have to own Twitter for it to happen, even though it would be more likely. I still think it's going to happen strongly. And so we might see a sell-off, but then we'll start to hear more news about Elon and what he's doing with Twitter still, and the price will recover and probably end up back up here. So short-term, bearish move, followed by bullish move. That's going to be my guess. And then Bitcoin willing, of course. ETH2, fall 2022. Yes, cannot wait. So really, I mean, Ethereum's probably, I'd say Dogecoin and Ethereum are probably going to be our short-term best buys. Obviously, ADA, if you're looking at Cardano, it's really hard to write off Cardano. That is not it. Cardano at under $1. It looks like if Bitcoin goes down, Cardano could fall significantly and end up back in the 80s. Honestly, I was really upset when I didn't buy at 75 and then the price was $1.25 not long after. So if we get another shot at under 90 cents, I will be buying some Cardano this time around. Another reason why that's probably a good idea, and sorry, I know this stream's actually really long, but hopefully you guys are getting some good info here. Another reason why I think that that's really good is because I forgot his name for a second. The ADA buy could be really good because this is what Charles said, who's the creator of Cardano. This is what he said to Elon. Basically, he said, hey, I see that Twitter deal may not be going through. So here's my proposition to you, Mr. Elon. And let's see where that tweet is. Let's see where that tweet is. Did I scroll past it? Let me try one more time. It was directed to Elon. Well, that's kind of a bummer. Or maybe it was in his replies. I don't like quoting without the source being on screen. Here it is. This was Charles' reply to Elon. He said, "Hey Elon, if Twitter rejects your offer to buy it, then hit me up. I'd be happy to build a decentralized one." So here's the creator of Cardano trying to link up with Elon to create a decentralized social media platform that will rival Twitter. This could definitely happen. Now, Elon Musk did basically say that he implied he would create his own if he was not able to get into Twitter. Well, he actually asked people before, should I create like my own social media? Then he went and bought some of Twitter, and then was looking to purchase all of Twitter. But if he cannot purchase all of Twitter, I think he's going to dump his shares, take his profit, and then create a social media company rival that will rival Twitter. And we could see Cardano or Charles involved, and somehow maybe ADA tipping will be integrated. And then something Charles just recently said here, which I just caught, which I think is really interesting, is that he said, let's see, great. Someone says, great idea, but will it be able to be used across chains and not limited to Cardano only? If it is limited only to Cardano or any single chain, then I don't think it qualifies as true decentralization. And then Charles replied and said, cross-chain with Bitcoin, Doge, and Cardano. This is tweet of the night. So if we see that happen, that could be huge for all three of those coins. And loop ETH in there as another one to buy. And I think those are the four to be looking at as purchases. But primarily Cardano, Dogecoin, and Ethereum. We are all in the buy zone still with those. Would love to catch a dip. Obviously, don't 100% all in really at any given point. It's better at these points to just DCA and, put in what you're comfortable. Could be 50% of your portfolio, like what you wanted. Diversify that across a couple different projects, and then buy dips as they come. And if we look super bullish, like we're not going to dip anymore, buy cheap on the way up. It's the way to do it. But that's pretty much going to do. Sorry, I know the stream, like I said, went a little long, and I didn't get to really touch on Compound. Honestly, though, I don't have much insight on Compound, so we would have to take like 10 minutes to research it first. So I'll do that off stream, and maybe we can talk about Compound in that next stream while I have some more insight in it already, so you guys don't have to wait for me. Thank you all for hanging out. Hope you guys are having a great Saturday night. I know it's a little late, so a lot of you will be going to sleep, but if you are not already subscribed, click subscribe if you like this kind of content. Catch me in the next live stream, and also hit the like button one time just for the algorithm so that people after this stream can find the playback video and watch it and get some good info. Thank you all for the support, and I'll catch you all in the next stream. Have a good night.